student. I'm Sonali Kelkar from City International School, and today we are going to do the revision fifth, and we will be concentrating more on the chapter life processes and electricity. So let's start today's revision. Let's start today's session. First of all, we are going to take important questions, that is very short answer type. Okay, let's see the question number one. Here you have to write the relationship between the electric power P of a device with potential difference voltage V. Okay, we can write V over here across it, and the current uh, ampere flowing through it, or current I flowing through it. Okay, now what is electric power? We know that electric power is the rate at which the electric energy is dissipated or consumed in an electric circuit, right? And the rate at which the electric energy is consumed in electric circuit definitely depends upon the voltage difference across the circuit and the current flowing through it. So power depends upon the voltage. More the voltage difference, more the power. More the voltage difference, more the current. So power is equals to V into I, or we can write P is equals to VI. Okay. So this is the relationship between power, voltage and current. Question number 2. A charge of 150 coulomb flows through a wire in 1 minute. Charge, we know that it is denoted by Q. Okay, that is 150 coulomb is a SI unit of charge in 1 minute. 1 minute, immediately we have to convert this time into seconds, that is 60 seconds, right? Find the electric current. Now what is the formula of electric current? Electric current is nothing but the rate of flow of charge. What is rate of flow of charge? That is Q upon T. Whenever you come across the word rate of flow, immediately divide the quantity by time. Okay, the charge here given is 150 divided by 60, which is time, and what is 15 divided by 60? 2.5. This is 2.5 ampere. A capital you have to write, you don't have to write like this. So the answer is 2.5 ampere, which is the current. Okay. Okay, now coming to the question number 3. What is the shape? They have asked the shape of a graph between V and I, right? And where V is a potential difference applied between the ends of the wire and I is the current flowing through it. We know that according to the Ohm's law, okay, here if the voltage difference is more between or across the wire, there will be a more amount of current flowing through it. Okay, so we know the Ohm's law. According to that, V and I are directly proportional to each other, that is voltage and the current, voltage difference or the current directly proportional to each other. We can call it potential difference also. Potential difference and the current they are directly proportional to each other, so definitely the line will be the straight line. The shape of the graph will be the straight line passing through the original. Okay, let's do the next set of question, that is important question, short type answer. Okay, question number 1. An electric heater rated 800 watt operates 6 hours per day. Okay, so the electric heater, the power is given 800 watt is nothing but power. Power is given 800 watt. The time is given 6 hours per day. This is given in hours. Find the cost of energy to operate it for 30 days. Okay, for first of all, we have to find out the total energy consumed, and then we can multiply with the cost, that is 3 rupees per unit. So let's find out the answer. Here the power is given 800 watt, and but the time is given in hour, that is so we can convert. We know that energy, what is the unit of energy? Let's see, first formula of energy is P into T, power into time, right? And unit of energy in case of commercial unit, that is kilowatt hour, right? Kilowatt hour is a commercial unit of energy. Fine. So we have to convert first. Let's calculate the energy here, and then we will convert into kilowatt hour. Okay, so power is given 800, so 800. Okay, time is given into hours, 6 hours, so I'll keep hours as it is. So and that is for 30 days. So multiply 30 also with this. What I'm getting over here is 4800, 800 into 6 into 30. So I'll be getting 144,000, but this is kilowatt hour, sorry, this is watt hour. We have to convert it into kilowatt. So to convert into kilowatts, I will divide by 1000. So when I divide by 1000, I'm getting 144 kilowatt hour. Okay, I'm getting kilowatt hour, small k, capital W and small h, kilowatt hour. So this is the power consumed. I have to find out energy. So to find out the energy, I'll multiply with the rate 144 into 3. Sorry, we have to find out the cost of energy. So to cost of energy, I have to multiply the energy with the cost, that is cost of per unit. So 144 into 3, I'll be getting 432 rupees. Okay, so the cost of 144 unit is 432 rupees. Coming to the next question, explain two disadvantages of series arrangement for household circuit. We know that if I arrange two things in series, right? In this case, if one get fused or something goes wrong with one appliance, the other is not going to work. Okay, so this is one of the drawback. Other thing, if my first appliance is near to the power, this is my power point. Okay, my first appliance will get the maximum electricity, whereas the next will get the less electricity, and then if another appliance is also attached to it, it will again get less as compared to the second one, and it goes on and on. So the voltage difference across every appliance is different, so the current passing through every appliance will be different. So these are the two disadvantages of series circuit. Here they have added one more. In series circuit, all the electric appliances have one switch, due to which they cannot be turned off or turned on separately. This is also one of the disadvantage in series connection. Next question, three resistors of 10 ohm, 15 ohm and 5 ohm are connected in parallel. Okay, so the resistors are connected in parallel. So we have a potential difference. Potential difference in parallel connection is always same. Okay, now here 10 ohm, 15 and 5 ohm, how they are connected. So because it is in series, so the resistance will be 1 upon R. The resultant resistance is 1 upon R. I can write, because it is connected in parallel, I'll write R small p, right, which this P shows that the arrangement of resistance is in parallel. Okay, for that we have to do 1 upon 10 plus 1 upon 15 plus 1 upon 5, because 1 upon R is equals to 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. So if I take the LCM of 10, 15 and 5, it will come 30. And what can I do over here? It will be coming 3, 15, 2s are 30, 2 1s are 2, 5, 6 are 6 1s are 6, and 6 plus 2, 8 plus 3, 11, 11 upon 30. So 1 upon R, P is equals to 11 upon 30. Therefore, R will be resistance, P will be 30 upon 11. So, and if I solve this, I am getting 2.72 ohm. So, this is the equivalent resistance. Next, give two reasons why different electric appliances in domestic circuits are connected in parallel. This is just opposite to what we did in the last slide. So, okay, here why do we want to arrange the domestic appliances in parallel circuit? Because if one electric appliance stop working, and then others can work normally. Okay, so whatever the drawbacks were there in series, that drawbacks were overcome over here. In parallel circuit, each electric appliance has its own switches, okay, to which it can turn on and off, and every appliance will get the same amount of current also. That is also one of the advantage of parallel connection. Okay. Question number 5. What is the least count of voltmeter? So what do we mean by least count? It is the minimum potential difference measured by the voltmeter between the two given terminals is called the least count of a voltmeter. Minimum potential difference measured by the voltmeter between the two terminals is called the least count of voltmeter. Now, how to find out the least count? If the voltmeter, in a voltmeter, there are 20 divisions between 0 to 0.5 volt. Okay, so between 0 to 0.5, so let's take, this is my voltmeter. Okay, I will take from 0 to 0.5. There are 0 volt to 0 point, there are 20 divisions, right? I'm not making 20 division, but there are 20 divisions. Fine, we have to find the least count. So we have to find this division. What is this? This is the least division, least count we have to find. So what we are going to do, we are going to subtract the highest value divided by the lowest value, highest value subtracted by the lowest value divided by the number of division. Okay, so that will be 0.5 divided by 20. Fine, so it will be, so if I have to remove the 0, I need to put one more 0. It will be, if I divide 5 and 5, 4s are 20 and 0, 1 upon 40, which is nothing but 0.025 volt. Okay, this is how we find out the least count. Next question, nichrome wire of length L and the radius R has a resistance of 10 ohm. How could the resistance of the wire change when only length of the wire is doubled? So let's find out the relationship between the resistance, length and the area. Okay, we know that resistance is directly proportional to the length. Suppose I increase the length, the resistance of the wire will increase. If I increase the area, okay, then the resistance of the wire will decrease. We know that resistance is inversely proportional to the cross section area. Because a wire, we consider it as a circle. So if I increase the R, the area will also increase. Now what is the formula of area? Is pi r square. So if I increase the radius, my area will also going to increase. If area increases, the resistance will get decrease. So this is how it to be. We have to relate area and resistance and length and resistance. Let's see the question. When only length of the wire is doubled. Okay, if I double the length of the wire, I know that resistance is proportional to the length L. So, okay, it is proportional to the length. So if I double the length, so if I make it length as 2L, definitely the R will also become 2R. Okay, So resistance is directly proportional to length of the conductor. If the length of the nichrome wire is double, the resistance also gets double. Here we can see the relationship. Okay, make it as L. R is a new resistance having a 20 ohm. Why? Because the double of 10 ohm is 20 ohm. So the resistance will also get double. So from 10 it will become 20 ohm. Now second, only diameter of the wire is doubled. We have increased the diameter of the wire. Okay. Here what is the diameter? Diameter is the double of the radius. If I am increasing the diameter, see, if I am increasing the diameter, this hole is a diameter which is equals to 2r. Okay, if I am doubling the diameter, if I am making it 2d, okay, then definitely this 2d is equals to 4r. That means my area of cross section is increasing 4 times, right? So what happened to the resistance? 10 divided by 4, okay, will be 2.5 ohm, right? So the resistance of the wire is inversely proportional to the square of the diameter. If the diameter of the wire is double, its resistance become 1/4. You can see the resistance has become 1/4. Okay. Elements of electric heating devices are made up of alloys. This is the B part of the last question. Why nichrome? We are selecting nichrome because it has high resistivity, due to which it produces more amount of heat. Okay, so that is why we are using nichrome, because it has high resistivity. It produces lot of heat on passing electric current. Nichrome does not undergo oxidation, which is a very important factor of nichrome, that we are using nichrome because it doesn't undergo any oxidation. So even at high temperature, it is kept red hot without burning. It doesn't get burned. It remains red hot. Okay. Now question number 2. Three resistors of 5 ohm, 10 ohm and 15 ohm are connected in series, and the combinations is connected to battery 30 volt. Okay. Ammeter and voltmeter are connected in circuit. Draw a circuit diagram to connect all the devices in a proper correct order. What is the current flowing and the potential difference across 10 ohm resistance? So first we have to draw the diagram. Here we can see the 5 ohm and 10 ohm and 15 ohm, these resistors are connected in series, right? And they have told that they have asked the potential difference across 10 ohm resistance. So that is why we have connected a voltmeter across the 10 ohm resistance, right? Ammeter, it should be connected in series. Okay, and what should be the flow? What should be the, where should be the positive terminal? Positive terminal of ammeter and the positive terminal of battery should face each other, right? So this is how you have to connect the ammeter, and even in case of voltmeter, the positive terminal of voltmeter and the positive terminal of battery should face each other. So if the positive terminal of battery is on this side, on the, we can say on the left hand side, the positive terminal of voltmeter should also be on a left hand side, on same side of the battery, you can say. Okay, so you have to arrange the first the circuit, and then what you have to find out, we have to find out the current flowing through it. So I have to find out I. Okay, so to find out I, we know the formula, I is equals to V upon R, right? So I is equals to V upon R, where the R we have to find out, because they are connected, all the resistance are connected in series, so we can just add and find out the total resistance, that is RS. Okay, 5 plus 10 plus 15, 30 ohm. So volt is 30, the resistance is 30 ohm. The voltage difference is given is 30 volt, so that will be considered as 30. Okay, So let's substitute the value. I is equals to volt potential difference 30 and the resistance is also 30. So my current is coming 1 ampere. Okay. Now we have to find out the voltage difference across the resistance 10 ohm, right? So to find out the voltage difference, what is the formula? V is equals to I into R, right? I because it is 1, so I'll put 1. R resistance is 10. So 1 into 10 is 10 volt. So the potential difference V is coming 10 volt. So this is how we have to solve this sum. Let's do the next question. Find the resistance between the point A and B in the circuit diagram given below. So you have to remember, children, that whenever you get the circuit diagram, write this like this, okay, and just find out where the current is going. Okay, the current is coming through A. It is going through the point through the resistors 2 ohm, and then again it is going through the resistors next 2 ohm. Here they have given the name of the resistance R2. This is given as R3 and this is given as R4 and this one is R1. Okay, so current is flowing all through these resistors and going out. So in this case R2, R3 and R4, they are connected in series. Okay, so again please redraw the diagram. Always redraw the diagram. Okay, so here we can see R2, R3, R4 are in series and R1 is in parallel. Okay, now we can use the formula of to find out the resistance in parallel. Here, if they are in series, the sum is coming 6 ohm, right? So the resultant resistance or the combination R dash will be given as 1 upon R is equals to 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R1. Okay, they have considered 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R1. You can name it anything. So that is 1 upon 6 plus 1 upon 6. What is the LCM of 1 upon 6? 1 upon 6 and 1 upon 6, LCM of 6 is 6. So 6 divided by 6, 1 into 1 plus 1. So it is 2 upon 6. So 1 upon R is equals to 2 upon 6. Therefore, R P is equals to 6 upon 2, which is nothing but 3. So 3 ohm is the resistance. Next questions we have taken from the life process. Let's take the first question. Explain with the help of the diagram how amoeba takes its nutrition. Okay, amoeba takes in the food particle with the help of the finger-like projection. What do we call the finger-like projection? That is pseudopodia. Inside its cell, a food vacuole is formed. See how it engulfs the food. Okay, a food vacuole is formed. You have to show with the help of these 4 diagrams if ever this question is asked. Okay, and you have to label them properly. Food particles, you have to show the food particle, how the nucleus is present, how the pseudopodia has grown over the food particle, and now the food particle is totally inside the food vacuole. It is engulfed by the pseudopodia and then it is digested by the enzymes present in the vacuoles, right? And the rest of the thing is thrown out. The undigested material is sent to the surface and then it is thrown out. So this process of nutrition in amoeba is known as endocytosis. Next question. Name 3 different glands associated with digestive system in humans, also name their secretion. Okay, if you start from the first, salivary glands, we have 3 sets of salivary glands. Okay, so the enzyme secreted by a salivary gland is salivary amylase, and this digests the starch present in the food. Oh, okay. Then next is liver. It is the largest glandular organ. It secretes bile. Okay, it is poured directly into the duodenum. Duodenum is the first part of our small intestine. Bile takes acidic food. It makes acidic food which is coming from the stomach into the alkaline food, because our pancreatic enzyme as well as the enzyme present in the intestinal juice cannot act in a acidic medium. So the medium has to be changed. So that is changed by the bile secreted by liver. Okay. Now, bile salt also breaks the fat present in the food into small globules. Okay, we call them fat globules. Now the third gland is pancreas, which is a large gland. It secretes pancreatic juice. Now this pancreatic juice secreted directly into duodenum. And what enzyme this pancreatic juice has? Number one is trypsin. It acts on protein. Number two is lipase, which acts on fat. Okay. Pancreatic juice also acts on alkaline medium. It is because the medium has become alkaline, pancreatic juice or the enzyme present in the pancreatic juice can able to act or break the proteins and fats. Now question number 3, what is translocation? The movement of food from leaves to the other parts of the plant is known as translocation. It is done through phloem. Why it is essential for plants? Because the food is required by each and every cell of the plant. Okay, so that is why it is important. It is important for the survival of the plant. Okay, the translocation is necessary because every part of the plant needs food for obtaining energy, for building its parts and for maintaining its life. Okay, where are the substances translocated by the phloem delivered? The movement of the food in phloem is transported upward and downward. Okay, transported upward and downward, so it's bidirectional depending upon the needs of the plant. For example, in spring, even the sugar stored in the roots or stem root or stem tissues of a plant could be transported through phloem to the buds, which need energy to grow. So wherever the energy is required, the food is transported. So it is bidirectional. Next question, give reasons for the following. Arteries are thick-walled because arteries carry blood which is coming from the heart. Whenever the blood comes from the heart, it comes with pressure. So to tolerate that pressure, arteries have thick wall. Then blood goes only once through the heart in fishes. We know that fish have two-chamber heart and it has gills to oxygenate blood. So in fish, the heart pumps deoxygenated blood to gills where the oxygenation of the blood takes place. Then the oxygenated blood from the gills is supplied to the body part of the fish where the oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide enters into it, makes it deoxygenated. So this deoxygenated blood return to heart to be pumped into gills again. That's why it needs only two-chamber heart. One has oxygenated blood, the other has a deoxygenated blood. And the blood passes through heart to fish only once in one complete cycle. It's unlike human beings. Plant have low energy needs. Plant have low energy needs because plant doesn't do locomotion. Okay, plants are less active. That is why they don't need energy. Let's take the next set of the question. State reason for the following. Rings of the cartilage are present in the trachea. Yeah. The air coming from the nostril during breathing passes through the trachea. The trachea does not collapse even when there is no air in it because it is supported by the ring of soft cartilages. So the cartilage is supported by the ring of soft cartilages, right? Here we can see these cartilages are C-shaped and they support trachea. Whenever the air goes out through the trachea, it shouldn't get collapsed. So that is the reason the trachea has C-shaped cartilages in it. Plants look green in color because of the chlorophyll present in it. Plants look green in color. Write other names of the following. Alveolar sac is nothing but alveoli and voice box is nothing but larynx. For today's session, children, practice the questions that we have discussed today.